This is TLV1.
The Tel Aviv Review. Hello and welcome to the Tel Aviv Review, a program dedicated to the word, to the thought, and to debate, brought to you by the Van Leer Jerusalem Institute, which promotes humanistic, democratic, and liberal values in the social discourse in Israel. I'm Dalia Shenlin.
And I'm Gilad Halpern. We'll be talking every week about books and ideas and other related stuff. Our guest today is Dr. Fahima Abbas. She holds a PhD in geography from the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, where she is currently a postdoc at the Truman Institute, where she also has been an associate fellow and a rabbin scholar. Today we'll be discussing current research project, which focuses on the integration of Arab middle classes into the metropolitan areas of Tel Aviv and Haifa. Fahima Abbas, hello and welcome to the Tel Aviv Review.
Hi.
Okay, so let's start with a bit of, telling us what this is all about, because you talk about urbanization and metropolitanization.
Okay.
That's a very long word, a bit of a mouthful. These things can mean many things. What really are the phenomena that we're talking about here?
Okay, we're talking about new phenomena that happened just lately, because we know that the Arab settlements and the Arabs in the Israeli country do not migrate to another cities, Jewish cities, especially to Tel Aviv. To migrate from the Arab localities to Tel Aviv, it's very difficult because the traditional society, because obstacles to living in the Jewish city, like the culture, especially for the women. So lately we have two processes that affect this phenomenon and increasing and intensify the integration of the Arab middle class. First one, the modernization. In my research, I examine the middle class in the meaning of the educated people. So when we're talking about the modernization, we're talking about the education in the Israeli university. We're talking about the work outside the Arab settlements in the Jewish cities. So the effect to the people, the middle class, and giving them the means to overcome the obstacles in the Jewish cities and to move to living there, because the problems that we have in the Arab settlements, like the lack of employment opportunities, like the lack of privacy, and services, municipal services, we have lack of municipal services, so they push them to the Tel Aviv area.
So this is the migration of individuals, Arab individuals from Arab localities to the big cities that you say this is something very recent. How recent are we talking about? Like 10 to 20 years?
Migration to Jaffa was before 20 years, but to Tel Aviv area, especially among the women, just lately.
I am very interested by your use of the term enforced migration, because you're making it sound like, on the one hand, there were previously obstacles coming from Arab-Palestinian society inside Israel regarding traditional societies, and on the one hand, job opportunities. So why is it enforced? It sounds like a lot of processes we see in other countries in the West over time.
Yeah, because in other countries in the world, we can see the process of metropolitanization, that the metropolitan areas extended and include the other cities. So we have economic internal development, so the people must to migrate to other cities.
So it's actually the city that migrates toward them. Right? That absorbs their own localities, and they become suburbs of the big city. So that also happened.
No.
It didn't happen in Israel.
No, we don't have internal development, economic development in the cities, in the Arab cities, in the Arab localities, because we don't have Arab cities. We have just some of the cities.
But aren't you talking about commuting between the Arab localities and the big cities? That has become a lot more accessible these days. There are many day commuters coming in from cities. So that is also one of the processes, one of the phenomena of migration that you're talking about.
Yeah, we have migration and we have commuting.
I just think in the United States, I think there has been a lot of migration from rural areas to cities, which is why we know about all these phenomena in the U.S. But let's leave that aside. I mean, I think you're saying there's an added factor, if I understand your material, of less investment and less development in the Arab towns because of the ethnic divide in Israel that is partly pushing people out of their societies. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. And we don't have another option because the policy, if we don't have new towns that the government will build for the Arab people, so they must moving to the Jewish cities.
And you were talking about all sorts of obstacles. I mean, clearly it's the ethnic, national divide between Jews and Arabs in Israel. This sort of migration that is driven by economic factors predominantly is not very, I wouldn't say, well, peaceful is not the word, but it's not without trouble, is it?
Sometimes they will face problems, especially in the housing market. Maybe they can rent houses in a Tel Aviv area. I'm talking about, especially about Tel Aviv area. But if they want to buy houses, it will be very difficult because the Jewish society in Tel Aviv area refused to buy houses to the
provided they can afford them in the first place.
Right, right. I mean, this is an issue because so many people in Tel Aviv can't buy homes. But you're saying that if an Arab person wants to come and purchase an apartment in Tel Aviv, who says no? The individual sellers? Are they allowed to do that?
Yeah.
Have any of these cases been taken to court?
I interview many people and they said the same, that maybe the individual want to buy the house, but they said that maybe the neighbors, maybe the society around, they refuse, so say no because they don't want any problems with the other people.
But it's a question of the mentality of the individual people. It's not really about state policy. Are there any state policies that prevent those Arabs from integrating
in the law? No, there is no discrimination if the individual refuse to buy house. It's not
to
something.
Sell
we can't call this discrimination in the law if everybody as individual refuse to buy house.
Refuses to sell a house?
To sell house,
yeah.
Excuse me. Yeah.
So have any of these cases been taken to court?
No, because
it's not a felony. So
Yeah.
Okay, so the law does not recognize that a seller might actually discriminate.
Yeah.
The thing about Haifa and Tel Aviv, which are the two case studies that you focus on, is that they already before this started had a sizable Arab-Palestinian community in them, in Haifa and in Jaffa, that part of Tel Aviv that was originally a buzzing Palestinian city, but then a few things got in the way. Can we talk about like two distinctive communities here, or are the new migrants, have they tried to integrate into the already existing Palestinian community in those respective cities, or have they formed a separate community?
We're talking about new migrants, because before we have migrants to Jaffa, especially to Jaffa, and with Tel Aviv, we can see that there is no community. The migrants do not want to have community or life of community. They want to live as individual, as Western life. So they choose Tel Aviv because they want to live in the Western
So
style.
in other words, they're integrated into Jewish neighborhoods like on the same blocks or in the same apartment buildings, not even like Arab communities. It's interesting because you did list in one of your sets of reasons, job opportunities, etc. But you also said that some people are actually looking for that privacy and individuality.
Because we're talking about middle class. Middle class want first quality of life, employment opportunities, municipal services, so they can't find all this in Tel Aviv, in the city of Tel Aviv. Not even in Jaffa, they living in the same line when they can enjoy in the same time from what the Tel Aviv area offered, and in the same time to living in atmosphere Arab neighborhoods.
What numbers are we talking about here? And also, where did you get your much of that is underpinned by statistical, empirical research.
Big data research.
Big data, as they like to call it. Is there a database of these things? Is it the Central Bureau of Statistics, the Interior Ministry? Is there any government agency overlooking, monitoring that? Where did you get your statistics from?
From data, from the housing and commuting census uses. And I have survey among 101 migrants that moving to Tel Aviv area. We're talking in Tel Aviv city, something like 100, 600, something like that.
Oh, 600 people? Is that all? Okay, so it's very, very few.
But about the data, it's thousands.
So I think 600 for the survey, you mean?
Oh,
You
600
know,
for the
600
survey?
from people that working about the people that living in Tel Aviv, because they want to know how many people voting to the Knesset election.
Oh, so but how many Arabs in general, more or less, have migrated from Arab localities
It's
to Tel
thousands,
Aviv?
thousands, but
Several
I don't
thousands.
have the correct
That's
number.
okay. But you know what's interesting, I think, is what you started to say before. We're talking about thousands of people who are middle class, educated, searching for more individual lives. What is this doing to what you called before rather traditional Arab society, Palestinian society in Israel?
Recently, we talking about the traditional society. We stopped talking about traditional society because we can see the tradition in the Arab society. We see that everybody living how they want to live. No social norms like before. And one of the reason to have all the crime in the Arab society, because we don't have leadership in the Arab societies. I don't talking about the political issue. No, I'm talking about the society that living in the Arab localities. But in the same time, we can see that the women, especially the women that they want the freedom, the independence, and to living in the Western life, so they're moving to the Tel Aviv
So
area.
is this becoming the new norm for Arab Palestinians
yeah,
in Israel?
Yeah, to Tel Aviv area, it's a new phenomenon that wasn't before.
I think we can't help but discuss the film that is making such a big splash exactly on this issue. In Hebrew, it's called Lo Po Velo Sham. Our listeners can't see, but you're smiling, big
Yeah.
smile. What do you think of this? Doesn't it sort of capture a lot of what you're talking about in these traditional versus modern changes?
No.
No. Okay. Very firm no.
Yeah, because I think that the woman in the movie, not the woman that struggle to have her rights in the Arab society. Because the Arab woman today can living in Arab localities and doing everything that she want. Drugs, alcohol, everything that we can see.
This is Tel Aviv for you.
Wait, but you're saying women in the Arab localities do that too?
No,
No,
they can do
they
this.
can.
It's not the problem for the woman. The woman facing many problems in the Arab societies. Not what they talking about in the movie. We have problems in what happening in the house, how they manage the house with the children. The Arab women today they work they work outside the house. They're working in another places, so they need that the husband to help her in the house.
Okay, I think that's fair to rephrase because what you're saying is that the movie portrays women who did the migration you're talking about, but as if so that they could party and do drugs and alcohol. And you're saying that's not the reason why Arab women are striving to change their situation. They're changing their situation for economic need and more professional drive.
Yeah, because if I want to change the society, I need to change from the society and not to be outside the society. We're talking about traditional society. Very difficult to change. So if I say everything that happened in the society, everything that we believe in the society, it's not correct, like what was in the movie, so we can't change.
But that's because mainly these people, the migrants in Tel Aviv, the Palestinian migrants in Tel Aviv, are not driven by ideology so much, are they? I mean, they, as we said, they want to better their lives, to get more opportunities, better city services.
Yeah.
And if they can change their own respective societies back home, all the better. But that's not really what they care about 100%.
When I interview the migrants, they want to change also the society, not just their life, because they belong to the society. They have many beliefs about the society, political beliefs. So we're talking about migrants that if we want to change the society, we need their help.
What kinds of changes do they want to make in society?
The status of the woman in the society.
Mostly gender. Very interesting.
Yeah. We're talking about
Even men.
Even men. Yeah. Not every women migrants that moving to Tel Aviv area wants to have Western lifestyle. No, it's not correct. Because they're thinking about the children. They want education. They want also social norms for their children. So if I have distance from my society, so what I will have to my children? education.
Okay, so that exactly brings me to my next question.
Yeah.
Who are these people that we're talking about? What is really their profile? Are we talking about young people, single people, coming to Tel Aviv perhaps for an X amount of time to work in their profession, make money? We say that many of them are unable or even being stymied from buying property in Tel Aviv, so they might go back to their communities. Are we mainly talking about young single people, or are we talking about families as well?
No, we're talking about young, single, the most of the migrants, because the problems in Tel Aviv to buy housing, it's problem for the Arab and the Jewish people in Tel Aviv. And part of the migrants coming to Tel Aviv to studying in the University of Tel Aviv, and after that they're looking about employment opportunities and stay in Tel Aviv area. But it's very difficult for them to have family in Tel Aviv area because the housing and because the education.
And, I think it's interesting to point out that for quite a while, we know that the statistics show that more women make up the majority of higher education students among the Arab population in Israel, among Palestinians. So this certainly backs up what you're talking about. What kinds of professions are they going into? Not just women. What kinds of professions are all these young people who are, migrating going into?
They're working in different niches, in everything, in medicine, in economic, social workers, everything. Labor market in Tel Aviv open for the migrants. Everybody can find work in Tel Aviv, but the problem in the advancement in the work.
Yes, you talk about something like a glass ceiling, that your interviewees told you, we can get this far, but they won't let us actually become the leaders or the managers. Can you explain what people said?
Talking about medical center in Tel Aviv, so the worker, the migrant there, he can to work there, but not the external facade of the workplace, because the customers that coming to the center.
The medical center doesn't want its customers to see that it has Arab medical professionals?
Yeah, in high position. Yeah, to have the manager of the center.
So you think that they've reached the limit of that advancement, of this development, or are we going to see more opening up on the part of secular Jewish Tel Aviv towards these migrants? Are we really past the prime of that phenomenon, or are we yet to see it growing?
No, it will be growing, because the problems in the Arab securities is still the same problems. We still have lack of employment opportunities, lack of municipal services, lack of privacy. So it's still factors that push the people outside the Arab localities.
Do you see any sort of, we're talking about integration, but then does it tip over to assimilation? Do we see people coming to Tel Aviv, shedding their Arab-Palestinian identities for several reasons, and then, just, wanting to become 100% pure Tel Avivian? Is that something that's...
No. Because if we looking about the identity of the migrants, they want to be Palestinian, Israeli-Palestinian, that we define this term. They still want to be Palestinian, and at the same time integrate with the Jewish people. We don't talking about the political issue of to be Jewish or to be part of the...
So Tel Aviv in recent years has really allowed, it created in a way this hybrid identity of Israeli-Palestinian in the context of middle class, professional. All that in a way enabled the creation of that identity.
I asked the migrants if the political identity effect from the integration of the society, the Jewish society in Tel Aviv area. So it's different, because some people tell me that they meeting people and they having difficulties in the labor market and housing market. So they're looking more in negative. They don't like to having any relationships with the Jewish people because what they have face difficulties in the Tel Aviv area. Other people, they said that no, they can meet people that can help them to have more rights for the Arab minority. So to living in the Tel Aviv area serve them to have more rights in the society in Tel Aviv area.
Let's get back to this integration, assimilation question. I think it's very interesting. Do we see anything like people moving to the next generation? I mean, do we have Arab children born in Tel Aviv among a Jewish neighborhood, or Arab migrants, Palestinian migrants from other towns marrying Jewish Israelis because they're living together in the cities. Do we see anything like that yet?
I see and I heard about people, but I can't interview these people because not everybody agree to be in the survey. It's very difficult. Take me 1 year to have 101 migrants because they don't have any social relationships. So
it's very hard to locate them.
Yeah.
You can't just ask a friend, send me your friend, come on, your cousin. No, it's disintegrated community. Or scattered community.
And purposefully. So,
right. But you're saying you have heard of cases like that.
But they're very few and far between. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, because Israeli-Palestinian conflict, so it will affect
But I still think that if this is a trend, if people are moving to the cities, the city is the great equalizer. I mean, not equal, but it is the great mixer all around the world. And it seems like if you're saying thousands are moving, it seems like some portion of them over the next number of years probably will have children who are born into mixed cities, or intermarry maybe. It seems likely, no, in the future?
But not everybody that moving to the Tel Aviv area want to integrate in the culture in Tel Aviv area. So we can find people that send their children to private schools in Jaffa. And they want Arab schools in Jaffa. They don't want to send their children to the Jewish schools. But we can see another part that they actually send their children to the Jewish schools and they want that their children to have tools to integrate in the university and in the Jewish society. Yeah.
Interesting. Let me ask another, sometimes this is a sensitive question. Is there any difference in these migration patterns between Christians and Muslims in Israel? Oh, she's smiling again. Did I ask the wrong question?
Because sometimes I ask the migrants about the religion and they refuse to answer. And they say that it's from the academy that make difference between the Muslims and the Christian.
Maybe they just don't want to admit that they're Jewish.
No, I want to hear more about this.
Yeah, and I asked them about the Jewish. They said that if they know that I am Christian and not Muslim, so they relate it in another way.
So many of them won't say because they say it's like a false division?
They say that if they know that I am a Christian, so I am in another level, in another position. Yeah, they prefer a Christian.
Who prefers?
The Jewish society in Tel Aviv area. Yeah. But in my survey, no, it's the same. We can see the difference between the women. We can see that the same numbers of the women from the Christian community that migrate to Tel Aviv area.
So this is really very interesting. It's really a gender phenomenon in a way.
Yeah.
I want to ask you one last question about your methodology because I know you did a lot of interviews, but you also used very interesting data. You used cellular phone tracking data. Can you explain what new opportunities we have to understand sociological changes based on this big data?
Yeah, we can see where the people stayed in the Metropolitan nodes in Tel Aviv and Haifa according to the hour. If we looking at the hour of afternoon, so we will know that the people were in the work. In 4 o'clock in the morning, so they migrants. Sometimes we have problems because all the time we can know exactly that they were in the work but it will help us because my data, it was from 2008 and I want to examine the phenomenon in the last years. So in the data from the phone tracking can help me to examine if the phenomenon is still exciting in the Tel Aviv area.
How do you access that cell phone data?
I have help from my advisor.
Okay.
We all do. All right. Dr. Fahima Abbas, you hold a PhD in geography and you're currently a postdoc researcher at the Harry S. Truman Research Institute for the Advancement of Peace at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. Previously, you were Associate Fellow and a Rabbin Scholar there. And you're currently studying the integration of Arab middle classes into the metropolitan areas of Tel Aviv and Haifa. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Welcome. Thanks.
And also a big thanks to Gizem Ozdemir, our sound engineer, and to the Van Leer Institute for their generous support. If you like this podcast, there are many more where it came from. Just go to www.tlv1.fm/podcasts and listen to every single one of our 350 episodes. Check out our archive. We have lots of them, obviously, lots of those episodes to keep you busy. Like us on Facebook. Our website is called the Tel Aviv Review Ideas from Israel. That's our Facebook page. And follow both me and Gilad on Twitter. Join us next week for another edition of the Tel Aviv Review. And until then, goodbye.